evening, everyone. It's 6:30. We'll start the meeting. I'll call it to order here.
I'll give it to you after. Thank you.
My name is Zon Eastis, and I'm calling to order the meeting of Monday, July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Welcome, everyone, here in the room. Welcome to folks who are online. The folks that are online, I need to just ask if, I need to make sure that we can see everyone's first and last name. I see one name that we don't recognize. We don't need either a first or a last name, Franklin. So just a little bit more info would be great there. Thank you. All right, we'll move ahead with the rules of procedure.
Sure. The Select Board, as required by law, conducts meetings in accordance with Vermont Open Meeting Law 1 V.S.A. 310 to 314, except as provided in Section 313 of that title. At these meetings, the public must be afforded a reasonable opportunity to give its opinion on matters considered by the Select Board, so long as order is maintained. Such public comment is subject to the reasonable rules established by the Select Board Chair. While the law clearly establishes the right of public participation, that right is not without its limits. The statute reads, "At an open meeting, the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinions on matters considered by the public body during the meeting as long as order is maintained. Public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established by the chairperson." I'd like the way the Vermont Secretary of State words it. The public comment period is not a free-for-all. The board chair may establish reasonable rules to maintain order, and reasonable limitations on the amount of time for each speaker are not unusual or improper. So simply put, the Vermont statutes are there to set a constructive and civil meeting.
Thank you.
Let's have one.
Good, thank you, Chip. Changes to the agenda order. There is one change. We have a request to move what is on your agenda is titled 9, Roman numeral 9B, to move that up under 8A. And so it's a little bit of a mix of old and new business. Are we comfortable with that? That will allow Dan to do 2 presentations and then we get a comfortable. All right?
Happy to do that.
All right, okay, good. All right, then, folks, we will open it up to public comment. We have 10 minutes here that we're allowing, so, yeah, if you like.
Okay, I have to say bye.
So you want to say your, just a second, we have one here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Say your name and what road you live on.
My name is either Kate or Fawn. I live on Weatherhead Hollow. I know there was going to be this many people. I might have stayed home. Not good at speaking. But I am the goose person who wrote the goose thing, and I know there are going to be wildlife signs put up, which are great. I wonder if you could also have some turtle signs, and I know there was mention of radar on that road, and they're farther down the road, but that too is a really busy part, and while there are not a lot of people living at the pond, there are a lot of wildlife, and people don't slow down. Although I did hear they slowed down some for the goose signs, which unfortunately ended up in the pond.
The sign or the geese?
The signs.
Oh,
The geese are
goodness.
already in the pond. Yeah, somebody took the signs.
Oh.
So I would like to put out a plea for some radar signs as well as part of the road, because, there are curves, people can't see, there are people who walk along that road, and there are, there are turtles crossing, and there are geese crossing, and there are a lot of little beings crossing there. All right, wait a minute. So I'm a little tired, sorry, it's almost my bedtime, but,
Thank you. All right, so thanks very much.
Thank you.
yeah, and I think that the people around there who live over there are highly in favor too. All right, and two is in favor of either more biscuits or going out, so. So, yes, this is Chewy, my partner in crime for the night, so.
Okay, thanks very much.
So, anyway,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming in, yes, thanks very much.
Yes, and
All
thank
right.
you for letting me go first.
Sure. Dick.
Town Clerk, I have a copy of Robert's Rules of Order in my pocket.
Were they designed for select board specifically? No. However, there are exceptions in there, but however, they're easy rules to follow. Every organization, every select board I've worked with, every committee I've worked with has followed them to a point. That's why I'm here. When an item comes up off the agenda that needs a vote, the chair does not make the motion. There may be some clarification made, and the chair requests a motion from the board. After the motion is made, he asks for a second. After the second is made, discussion is brought about. And through courtesy and transparency, the public is invited to speak through that. When it comes to a vote, the chair again does not vote. It's not necessary for the chair to vote unless there's a tie. These are very simple rules to follow. They make the meeting run smoother. They eliminate confusion. They keep better order. And if Guilford Selectboard doesn't follow them at this point, they should. And I'm going to say, because of one meeting, you got two motions made and seconded on the floor at the same time, that you kind of slipped up on that one. And the next thing I'm going to say quickly, and I shouldn't, but the town clerk is not responsible to the select board. The town clerk works for state statutes, and she's not responsible to the select board. And any time the select board tries to interfere with her duties, it creates cause for concern.
Do you mind if I reply to that real quick?
Sure.
Because I actually had to look into that this week. But if you want to, I'll start with Robert's Rules of Order. Since you mentioned that, although our meetings aren't really dictated by Robert's Rules of Order because we're dictated by Vermont statute and policies of the town. But page 112 in Robert's Rules of Order, this is the latest edition, is a question. Is it true that the president can vote only to break a tie?
No.
No. It is not true that the president can vote only to break a tie. If the president is a member of the voting body, he or she has exactly the same rights and privileges as all of the members have, including the right to make motions, to speak in debate, and to vote on all questions. So in meetings of a small board, where there are not more than a dozen board members present, and in a meeting of a committee, the presiding officer may exercise these rights and privileges as fully as any other member. I also put this question out this week to the VLCT. Actually, I put it out before that because I had to chair the Sheriff's Advisory Committee, and I didn't want to use Robert's Rules of Order because in a small committee, it's better to have some freewheeling ideas. So, according to the Vermont Institute of Government, Robert's Rules of Order is written for the deliberative assembly. Vermont's annual town meeting is run by Roberts, but board meetings are not like a town meeting at all. Board meetings require greater flexibility and informality than mass meetings. Members speak when they have something to say rather than the chair. Motions are flung out of the table. Procedural steps that are originally enforced at a town meeting are not at a board meeting. This practice is very much in accord with General Roberts' manual. If you look at the right chapter, for small boards and commissions of less than 12, Roberts members are free to fully participate in discussions, vote openly, without fear of violating any rules. VLCT Advisory Committee recommendation from Garrett Baxter regarding Roberts rules. We actually do not recommend them for select boards as they are generally too cumbersome and formal for small boards. Adopting rules of procedure, which is what we follow, is considered a best practice for managing meetings and safeguarding rights, but they can be more useful and usable than Robert's rules. But I do want to thank you for reaching out.
What's the date of your book?
Third edition, copyright 2020.
Okay, I got it from 204.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, any other comments from the community?
Yeah, Tammy Sargent, Creamery Road. First, I'm gonna state again that I still don't like this policy that we cannot speak at every agenda item.
Thank you. We're
So,
right along.
I just wanna make sure,
Yeah, we hear you.
I would
Thank
love
you.
to see that get changed back. While we're still doing policies, I think it's extremely important that we create a new policy sooner rather than later regarding the changes to the audio-video recordings for all the meetings, the committee meetings and commission meetings and all of those things. There has been at least 3 times I know of different times that either the town administrator or a select board member has stated that these video recordings or audio recordings only get posted for no more than 30 days. And that is 100% not true. It is a minimum of 30 days. And I would like to see the select board adopt a policy stating we're gonna keep videos on our website for however long. I mean, to me, why can't we keep them on there for at least a year? It just doesn't make sense to only have them on there for 30 days. And then to go one step further, other comments have been made, and this is part of the new law, that the videos don't have to be posted until after a meeting accepts the minutes from the meeting that the video is of. So if you have a commission that's only meeting once every 3 months, you're gonna wait 3 months for them to approve minutes and then finally post it and only leave those posted for 30 days. I don't see where that benefits anyone. I don't know how much time you guys are gonna give me to talk. There's more than one topic I would like to cover, so this whole new policy thing is a bit confusing. But so I'll stop on that with the videos, but please do a policy and make it so it makes sense for all of us. Make it transparent would be terrific. The next thing I wanted to talk about is on tonight's agenda, and that's about the Algiers Traffic Calming and Safety Committee. That committee, you guys, the select board formed that committee on April 10th. On May 20th, the committee had their first meeting and they never shared an agenda. So there was no agenda saying, hey, we're gonna have a meeting and this is what we're gonna be talking about. They did state during that meeting that they had reached out to the state of Vermont about something over a year ago. So that tells me that this committee has been meeting for well longer than it just being established in April of this year. On the June 10th select board meeting, I asked Erica Elder when she was speaking about this committee, I asked her why the agendas weren't being shared on the town website. And she said that they were. I said, no, they're actually not. She said she would look into it. A week later, the same Algiers Traffic Calming Safety Committee had another meeting on June 17th. One week later.
10 minutes.
I'm talking 2 topics, so I don't know how you're gonna figure that out, but your agenda's full of stuff. So again, second meeting, no agenda, no word, no nothing. Then we move on, July 15th, they had a third meeting, still no agenda. So then tonight, I see that on the agenda for tonight, the Algiers Traffic Calming and Safety Committee would like to ask the select board for their approval for some, whatever it is that they're looking to do. And maybe an hour prior to tonight's meeting, I saw a packet was posted on the select board agenda page showing all the details of what they're looking to do. And it's like, that is no notice, maybe an hour prior to the meeting. So what I'm asking you guys.
I would encourage the board to move on from public.
I'm sure you do, but
Yeah.
maybe you should stop and listen to me for a second, because I'm
Tammy,
not
thank
only
you.
Thank you
speaking.
very
No,
much.
I'm not finished.
No,
I'm
I'd
not
like to hear her.
finished.
I know you're not finished. I'm gonna give you right to speak for
Thank
one more
you.
minute, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
What I would like the select board to do is to create a new committee for this study. I do not want you to grant them your stamp of approval for whatever it is they're trying to do, because this is almost a repeat of what we had with the library a few years back, which that's when the select board got my attention. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars, this project, that is unnecessary. I never see pedestrians down there. I see people parked where they want to put the sidewalk, so obviously nobody is going to be crossing the road if they can't park there anymore. But there is no, I want to see numbers. Where are all the pedestrians? How many pedestrians are crossing down there? This investment is a want, not a need. I'm sure my minute must be up.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Jen.
Is there anyone else? It's been 10 minutes, so now what we'll do is, folks, we'll move ahead, and we have another period at the end of the meeting at which we can continue with public comment. All right,
Thanks for the information, Tammy, that was
Yes,
nice.
thank you.
so I did see a hand, but we won't take time now. So folks, we'll move on to approval of minutes. We need to approve the minutes of the special meeting of July 3rd, 2024. Is there a
I so
motion?
move.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Any discussion about those minutes? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. We'll move ahead to the minutes of the regular meeting of July 8th, 2024. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I will move that.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Chip. Any discussion about those minutes? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, those pass. Thank you. We'll move on to the warrants. Tara, are you prepared?
Yes, I'd like to move to accept the warrants as written. Payroll week 7/14/24, $8,768.29. Payroll week 7/21/24, $9,067.96. Expense warrant number 2502, $140,839.66 for a total of $158,675.91.
All right, I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Anything you'd like to, anything we should know?
Yeah, there was two big items of MT3 for $59,890. That was, I'm pretty sure, for the ditching, which will be reimbursed $45,000 from the state, as well as an annual assessment for rescue, which was approved at the town meeting for $51,940. Those are two big ticket items. There's also $5,654 for the annual assessment for Windham Regional, approved at the town meeting. $1,500 for professional auditors work fiscal year 24. Those are the
Big items.
big items, yeah.
Okay. Is there any further discussion about the warrants? Okay, all in favor of approving the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, thank you. We can move forward with those then. All right, now we'll move ahead to updates and reports, and we'll turn to Erica, Town Administrator, please.
Okay. Just make sure there's nobody in. I have a brief list. It's been very busy these last couple of weeks. It was the week before last, along with John Ingold, the IT contractor. I helped him update the server in the town office and make sure that everything went smoothly with that. It was an overnight update, and I also replaced a fried battery backup that we heard about a few weeks ago. That got resolved and it's running very smoothly, and I'm happy to report that we were not affected by whatever happened with Microsoft on Friday. So that was good news. And Tammy mentioned it, I created our first meeting packet. It's an ongoing project. I will take suggestions as to what can be in that packet. But this week I thought I wanted to share another copy of the survey that the Windham County Sheriff's Contract Committee did, so that's in the packet. And like Tammy said, a little bit of information about the demonstration project that the Algiers Safety Committee will talk about in a little bit. I also, like Tammy, have questions about how long, not necessarily videos should be posted, but how long videos should be kept on file here locally. They're huge files sometimes. Videos can be very big, so what the state is asking of towns in passing this new open meeting law amendment is kind of, it's gonna take up a lot of bandwidth for towns. I think we're fine now, but it might involve buying new hard drives just to keep videos on. So that's a separate issue from having them up online. That will just go with us as we go. Yeah, we'll just see how it works out. And this is the first week that some of our commissions have had their first meetings that they recorded, and the library trustees did, and the cemetery commission. The cemetery commission met in a cemetery this past week, so I think they just took some photographic evidence and have said that they might be able to do some recording later of their meetings to adjust to meet this new open meeting amendment. That is it, but I would like to, I don't know if this is the time, but we're still in search of a highway foreman. I have been advertising the position in as many places as I can think of. So if anybody has any more ideas about where I can post this position or get the word out, that would be great.
Thank you. Let's move ahead to the highway commissioner. Dan? Oh, there's Dan. Hi.
Good evening, people.
Good evening. Do you want to
I'll make
sit?
this, okay, I can share, yeah. I'll make it quick and short and sweet. We're doing grading, roadside ditching, mowing. I got some seeding to do on the stuff that we're doing on the center road. The other thing is that we've been cutting some dead trees. The paving company called me today. They're gonna move in sometime next week to pave on the hollow. I guess that's about it, all I got for that, but we're just doing our routine maintenance. I did grade today and the anticipation of hoping it's gonna rain tonight. We need some rain because the roads are drying out and they're starting to get beat up now, so. But, okay?
All right, thank you. Yeah. Okay, we'll move then to the cemetery commission. Is that your call? You're gonna talk
Oh,
with us?
wait, I have pictures, I have visual aids.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, great.
that's some visual aids coming at us.
Uh-huh.
You
Hold on.
want to sit? Oh, well, it's fine. I don't mind middle school.
Kyle,
Jesus.
don't lean on that.
Oh,
It's fallen before.
Oh my goodness, all right. It almost took out a record
If
shovel.
anybody wants to be a handyman to fix that,
I'll take a look at it.
Oh, you'll be a hero.
You might say that.
Sit.
Okay, so I'm gonna
I'll
go
stay
back to
well.
Zoom.
I feel bad.
Share my screen. Share. Okay, so. Here's a great picture of Kyle.
Well, okay, well, I'll get right into it then. So I'm Kyle Parker, Route 5. I'm here on behalf of the Cemetery Commission, and I just want to thank Eric Morse, Eric Feindell, Miranda Porsche, Nancy Detra, and Carol Schnabel, which are the other members. So this is just kind of a little quick update in the last year. We've been very busy with cleanup maintenance, tree removal maintenance, just your basic things, stone straightening, trash removal. We'd like to thank Rory Lincoln, who does a great work at mowing a majority of the cemeteries around town. And we also would like to thank the many unnamed people that also help around the town to keep these maintained. We have a tree in Blanchard Cemetery. It's a staple. It's the center of the cemetery, and it's a beautiful tree. Unfortunately, its time has come to an end, and D&E Tree, or Anson Baldwin now, will be removing that sometime in the future when their crane is out of the shop and ready to go. So here's actually one of our signs from Blanchard Cemetery that we installed this past year. And we will be installing the next remaining 8 by the end of the summer, so just keep an eye out. And here's a little quick blurb of the, actually this Shepherdson Cemetery that the group went to last week. It's a cemetery off of Carpenter Hill Road. That's an abandoned cemetery. Basically it just has old field stones as the headstones, so it's pretty cool. And let's see here. Yeah, we just want to again thank the townspeople for their continued support for the Cemetery Commission, and we would like to thank you guys as well. I find it a great honor and a privilege to keep maintaining these historic sites. It's a beautiful thing, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. Any questions for Kyle?
Well, last year, I guess it was, we completed a brochure about, sort of how to die in Guilford. If anybody wants to know what to happen once that has occurred or anticipate what that is, we have a brochure at the town office. Also, this year, we've been looking at options for green burials in our cemeteries, which really just refers to how deep the burial is and that we don't require embalmment or vaults. And so if that's of interest to people, they can inquire about that when they're thinking about a plot. Nancy, was there anything else you could think of?
Just the fact that we put flags on the veterans' graves every year before the holiday. And we, especially Carol Schnabel, has taken it on as a project to find out if there are veterans that we don't know about. So gravestones that should have a flag, but that currently don't get one. We have a pretty complete list, but maybe not everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kyle.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much. Okay, folks, now we'll move on to old business, and I would like to just take a moment and say once again to everyone here in the room, as we attempt to get clearer and clearer all the time about the way that we do business, I want folks to notice that tonight the select board will be making only 2 decisions, in which we call single meeting decisions. They're just basically pro forma decisions that we can make doing business, doing the work that the select board's meant to do. Every other topic on tonight's agenda will not have a decision made this evening, but will become part we'll have at a subsequent meeting, there will be a decision potentially made on the topics that we'll be discussing tonight. So we start with old business first, and we'll hear from Dan Ingold at this point, discussing some already awarded ARPA dollars and perhaps the reuse for some of those. So, Dan.
Sure. In the last couple of weeks, I actually put together a report to the Guilford Selectboard. I don't know if you've all had a chance to see it. My colleague Miranda, especially on the ARPA committee. And Jared's here, and he went through this, and I got to say, Erica actually grammatically helped me quite a bit on this. Not my forte is grammar. So just a quick update, with ARPA, we had a total of $52,375 that was approved for a backup generator for the school. And this was pre-COVID, basically that happened. And what has happened since then is that the price for generators, because of inflation, because of COVID, because of demand, when that was re-quoted, it came in at over $77,000. And the backup technology for that, everything from an automatic transfer switch to storage and additional work that was done for upgrades, was going to raise the price over $100,000. I did, that was through King's Electric, also went through Powers Guaranteed, who does our O&M for our backup generators already in town. They wanted $600 just to quote at that point, to give us a formal quote. I said, that's not acceptable, and we talked to your engineers, we talked, and sure enough, they thought their rough order of magnitude was going to be in the $100,000 range also. So with that, just so you know that it's substantially more than what we originally were going for. Other things that came to light as I became EMD is one, the town does no longer own the school building. So we have an agreement with the supervisory union, but we did turn over the school building. So that's going through the supervisory union, and they've been very great, and they are for using that as an emergency shelter. But be aware that monies spent like this are not going to be used by a town-owned facility, but a supervisory-owned and controlled facility. So thinking about that and thinking what's been happening over the last couple of years, what are our real needs of Guilford? And what I've really been finding out is with what happened in March of last year or May of last year, what we just saw with the hot weather, what we really have a need here is a cooling shelter. And To do that, one of the thoughts I had is that, and talked to Jared about this, is that we actually set up for the classrooms with temporary, there's your portable air source heat pumps, just like these air source heat pumps you have here, that can each do about 750 square feet, which is the size of the classroom. But we could actually have 4 of those that the town owns, and they're portable, they can be set up there. The other thing that we need backup generators. And I'm not talking generators that are fossil fueled, gas or diesel or propane even. I'm talking battery energy storage systems, which have really, from a technology standpoint, have improved. And basically, you can get 4 to 6 kilowatt hour battery energy storage systems that are very portable. So you don't worry about carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't worry about people being burned, dealing with an internal combustion engine. But the thought is that why don't we get a little more creative and really solve the immediate problems of Guilford by setting up, portable air source heat pumps that are available for the school, and having a number of these backup generators to use them at the school for powering the air source heat pumps and lights if we need, but also to have enough of these battery energy storage systems. We could afford about 8 of them, I think, that working with the fire department to actually deploy them to people in need in town. When we had the issues last year, 14 months ago or so, there were several issues, and I'm sure the fire department can say, people who couldn't keep their refrigerator running, and they needed medicine, and they needed their medicine to be cooled, or they had a need for breathing assistance machines, things of that need. Wouldn't it be better for us to set up the cooling shelter, have these available for the school, but also have these units, especially the battery energy storage system, deployable, to actually utilize within the town for those in local need. So, and talking to Jared and with the fire department, basically they could be in charge of maintaining and storing and deploying those as needed. So that's my thought. I would like to move forward with spending no more than the $52,375, but get as many as we can. And basically with the battery energy storage systems, if we have any funds that we have left, because we bought these many increments, is to get backup batteries for them. So the idea is that if we put these at someone's house who's vulnerable, they should get between 1 and 3 days of refrigeration, 1.5 hours of water pump, and their lights. So we're not trying to power everything, but to be able to get them the basic necessities so that they can survive during a weather event or a grid outage. So that's what I'd like to do with that. It comes back to the central tenet that we were trying to do, prepare the school for being able to be a shelter. So this would do that, but also expands more for the vulnerable community. So that's what I'd like to do.
All right, great. Thank you. So just to say it, this is a proposal that you're giving that will go to the task force.
Correct.
And they'll come back to the select board with a recommendation not only for this, but on the remaining dollars for ARPA. So this will go into that picture.
Right.
Or that math. Yeah, are there any questions people have for,
I wonder whether we have any sense of what the need has been, let's say, for people who have no access to being cooled. I mean, was there anybody receiving calls, or, do we have any way to know how many people need either service? I'm all in favor of the creativity that's gone into it. I'm really curious about how we can assess what the need is in our town.
I would work with the Guilford Cares for that, for one thing, but I can tell you I live down at the far end of Green River. Both last year and this year, when we've had outages, we have 3 people, a vulnerable population, who do not have backup generators.
Yeah.
And they have severe medical issues.
Yeah.
So I gotta say the need is pretty great.
Yeah.
Our population here in Guilford is not getting younger, it's getting older. And these are vulnerable, these are people with medical needs, and we wanna protect our people.
Sure. Are these people's, are their names on a list currently, so you kind of know who to target?
Well, yeah,
And
with
look after, like-
HIPAA roles, you can't post that, or you can't really share that.
Right.
But you know, the fire department, they have their EMTs, they know about HIPAA, they follow that all the time. And then working with someone like Leah at Guilford Cares, you know, we would keep that list, and basically I would think there would be probably a small committee of people who determine, you know, this is the priority list. So when this sort of,
Sign up for that?
I haven't gone that far
Yeah.
yet. You know,
And how many units are you looking to buy? You said 8?
I'm looking for 8 battery units and 4 of the HVAC air source heat pumps. If we can get a better deal with that in quantity, we'll do that.
All right. Anything else?
All right,
Thanks.
so that's the first thing, and then
Yeah,
actually the Erica.
Yeah.
All right, so
We're
on
going now, let me just say it, we're gonna move now to the emergency management generator repair at the community church. That's item 9B. We're moving it up,
Okay, so just recently had Powers Guaranteed do the yearly O&M for the different generators. So here at the town clerk's office, the garage, the fire station, and the Guilford Community Church. With the Guilford Community Church, we do have one item that came up. Basically, they need to replace the engine starter and the starter relay. So right now, that generator down there is not functioning. So it doesn't need an overhaul, it doesn't need replacement, but we need the starter and the relay. And we're looking at a total cost of $887.74 for that.
887.
Right. And I would just have that out of the EMD budget to cover that. But I thought it was appropriate to bring it to the select board just to notice.
Sure. So we'll take action on it for approval at the next meeting. Okay. We'll
Okay.
look at it and make sure. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, and I'll let Powers Guaranteed know. We'll take action on it for next meeting about approval. Okay?
All right.
And that's what I had.
All right. Is there any question about this for?
No, I just really admire the pivoting of priorities, because a lot of people have expressed concern about, you know, Guilford not owning the school anymore, and, you know, having targeted investments instead of large ones seems like a really innovative way to go.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. All right, folks, we'll move ahead next to the Windham County Sheriff Services Contract Committee.
Musical chairs.
Yeah. And that's gonna be from Gordon and Jared.
Making my way to the front.
There you go.
We're making it happen. Good evening. What I'm going to do is give an overview of what this committee worked on and the conclusions that we came to. And just to remind everyone, particularly the public, the purpose of the Windham County Sheriff's Contract Advisory Committee was to advise the Guilford Select Board about an annual plan for policing services contracted from the Windham County Sheriff's Department. At the 2024 town meeting, Guilford residents voted to appropriate up to $68,000 for a policing contract for the fiscal year 2025, which just began in July. The committee was made up of Jared Bristol, Craig Laporte, Jameson Oak, Bill Pettingill, Marty Ramsberg, Hannah Tustin, and myself, with liaisons from the Select Board of Tara and Chip.
And Craig Laporte, you say Craig?
I said
Okay,
Craig,
cool.
yeah, I think I did. And Erica Elder was a significant supporter and helper of this group. The committee was a tremendous committee from my perspective on the committees I've served on in Guilford. But in particular, we had Craig Laporte and Bill Pettingill, who have spent their careers in law enforcement. So obviously for the committee members that aren't as, versed in that, it was helpful, as well as having Jared, obviously, with, his history and talent. So we had 3 extremely productive, thoughtful meetings. Mark Anderson, our sheriff with the Windham County Sheriff's Department, came to a meeting and provided a lot of insight to the Windham County Sheriff's Department and what the relationship with the town could look like, and at a very high level, what the cost menu could look like. He'll basically create services for the town based on what the town's needs are. So it's kind of a current cookie cutter approach. basically, the town can determine what needs it has and request the contract to be executed by them. The rub is, there's a cost associated with the time and energy of his people in the department. Therefore, we could say to them, we want X, and on the backside, X may cost a significantly more amount of money than we may have. But he ran through kind of this whole process. There are multiple variables that are out of the control of the forecasting with accurate numbers. So it's really hard to zone in on a specific need and request services for that need and know exactly what the time's gonna be on it. And that has a lot to do with when a sheriff leaves the station, you know, for a basic traffic incident, it may not be a lot of time. But if there was an accident, you know, it could be for multiple hours. If it's a request to, you know, join Jared's group with the Guilford Fire Department at a call, there could be a significant amount of time that it takes to de-escalate a situation. So the bottom line is it's really hard to forecast exactly what that number might be. Sheriff Anderson shared his vision for a regional policing service, basically. And I think, you know, he has, I think he's at the forefront of this thought process. But what the regional policing system would do, it would allow smaller towns regionally to share services, which would allow them to get a much bigger bang for their buck other than contracting directly for this service or that service. The unfortunate part of the program or the plan with his regional plan is that has to be a change in our law structure in the state of Vermont. So that means the legislature will have to change the law. So Mark has kind of, he's started the process of floating this out there. Last year there was a meeting with interested towns. This year there was a second meeting with interested towns, as well as this, he is very hopeful, will be put in front of the legislature at this next session. But that's still an unknown. But it's certainly an area that I think Mark would be very hopeful after listening to our discussion at our committee meetings, would maybe provide a more supportive structure to what we're looking for in Guilford. The committee created a brief survey to share with the public and allow public engagement on the subject matter we were discussing. There were 6 scaled related questions and 1 open comment question. We received 98 responses to the survey. I wanted to highlight the 2 most important issues and the 2 least important according to the survey. Now, you know, 98 responses isn't a huge number, but it does give us, I think, some insight into what the public's looking for. The most important item that came out of the survey was 63.5%. 61 responders stated that having a deputy respond to 911 calls for burglary, suspicious persons, potential threats was the highest rated question. Second was at 55.1%, the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department has stressed the need for a deputy protection and support for emergency calls. So I think, you know, those are right up there in terms of what the committee thought maybe are 2 most important issues. The 2 least important issues, according to the survey, were 55.2% or 53 responders stated that having a police presence at the start of a school day and the end of the school day was not that important to them. 39.8% or 39 responders stated that it was not important to have radar enforcement of speeding, aggressive driving, violations as part of that contract. So the focus of the community with the responses we got is certainly, you know, they don't want sheriff cars sitting out there ticketing people, and that was pretty loud and clear. The committee focused discussions around kind of the largest part of the content, with the negotiations being focused on making our first responders safe on 911 calls. The discussion at town meeting seemed to center around this, and it's become increasingly clear that there is no realistic contract within the Windham County Sheriff's Department that would address what I think the people at town meeting really focused on, and that is making our volunteer fire department safe when they need someone with them, on a call. And, that's, the net is it's disappointing in my perspective to kind of have that as a conclusion, but it's pretty evident that it isn't going to work. It isn't going to work within the framework of having to spend up to $68,000. A contract to do, I think, ideally, if we were able to do what Jared would like, would cost a significant amount more money. Currently, our 911 response calls are the responsibility of the Vermont State Police. We feel this model should continue and be our primary model. While our state police are understaffed and overworked, the system is currently set up for them to take the 911 calls. And there is no realistic solution at this time, to go in a different direction. So retaining the $68,000, the recommendation is from the committee to you is to retain $68,000 and not apply it toward an attempt at trying to minimize something else. But the hope is, I guess with fingers crossed, is that a regional policing system might come out of a legislative session on the front end. And therefore, the town of Guilford, with the up to $68,000 coffers that it has already budgeted for, would be available to utilize toward an end result, to something that maybe comes out of a session. So there are Jameson's here, Jared's here, Marty's here. So we have a good showing from our committee. But and I'm sure, Chip and Terry, if you want to add anything, I just tried to walk us through the process and the thought process, and please add.
Yeah, I know that when we went into it, Mark really didn't know what was going to happen or what could happen, had no time frame about having a regional policing situation, which is what we were hopeful could happen. And he's kind of still in that boat. And I think another thing to explain is why this isn't gonna work is, say we had 20 hours a week from the sheriff, we cannot delineate when Jared needs us. So if they're on call for 4 hours and nothing happens, we pay for those 4 hours. So that's why it's not feasible.
And one of the big positives I think that came out of it, not only with the regional policing, but also going forward, like tomorrow night I'm gonna go down, but there's an HCRS meeting at the fire station with Jared's guys. And then as we got deeper into the weeds on this, especially having both Bill and Craig there, from this two former state police gentlemen, we understood that there was actually a communication situation compromise at times between Vermont State Police and mental health and Windham County. And sometimes it appeared like the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, and the end result was that at times poor Jared and his guys were hung out to dry. And that just, as both these gentlemen just pointed out, the meter is always running. So, if they have to go with Jared's guys to a traffic accident, that could take 6-7 hours. They just burned up a majority of that 20 hours per week, and you'd be out of money by March. So I just think that now it's Jared and his guys are kind of like the center of this spoke along with Gordon, and we're now getting better levels of communication, and steps and plans are in place to sort of implement a wider spectrum because of this. So it's actually coming out to be a pretty good positive.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to say Erica did a great job as well, and that thing is fantastic.
Yeah, the communication with HCRS was particularly encouraging.
Yeah. And again, I want to thank these guys too, and Marty and Jameson, and everybody was fantastic.
So I just had a sort of general question of, if there were some kind of regional policing with the sheriff's department, and perhaps, mental health interveners. I mean, what did it seem as if they could aim toward an answer to an emergency call, to have somebody
Yeah.
come and join that call. I mean.
That's a great question, and I probably should have touched on it. I wanted to let there's a meeting tomorrow night with HCRS and the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department to address that very kind of issue. The answer to your question is, Veranda, right now, HCRS is implanted with the state police, not with Mark's group, but Brattleboro has support from them. And in talking to HCRS, you know, their goal is to, and there's a hotline for HCRS. I don't have that in front of me. There's a 988, I want to say. Is that the right? Do you remember? They have, it's like the 911. There's a 3-digit number that goes directly to someone at HCRS. So if law enforcement gets law enforcement, it's my understanding, law enforcement feels the call. If law enforcement feels that there is a way to support that call through HCRS, then they field the call with them or to them. The members of the teams at HCRS travel in twos. They will not go into a situation where, you know, there's concern for safety, but they are addressing calls and deflating situations so that everything gets de-escalated. And actually, that's kind of one of the hopes we have with Jared and his group, that through this meeting tomorrow night, that there may be a way for Jared to have a direct communication line more so with them and understand what they could possibly do to support our Guilford Fire Department in that regard. You want to add anything?
We'll wait and have community comment later in the meeting.
Yeah, we're not making any decision now.
We're not making a decision now, but yeah, Jared.
First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody from the town for all the support on this subject. I mean, a lot of this in all of our meetings was huge on making sure that we support all of our fire department members. That's huge help. I appreciate it. What we found with this, unfortunately, is we have to change on our end, is what we're doing in response to these calls. We can't respond like we used to and go in and fix the problem and do it in a quick manner. We have to slow down, take our steps to keep us safe first, and then we'll proceed forward. So that's what we're doing on our end, and we've made those steps. And when a call comes in on what to do now, and communicating with VSP and Rescue Inc. and all those members involved, and then proceeding into the call that way. So unfortunately, that's what we're going to do instead of rushing in. So, yep.
I just wanted to say one more small, request actually. I think that it would be wonderful for for you or somebody to just write up a description of the changed protocol, because the outpouring of care at town meeting came from concern about our neighbors, and so how that will be changed in the interim, I think would be of great interest.
And it's constantly changing depending on who's coming, what the call is, the time of day, and who we have to respond. So it's not going to be one certain cut thing. Right. It changes for every call. But yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I just want to say thank you to all the folks that were part of this work. It's important, very important, and to, good, as you said, thoughtful meetings. It's clear that it was a very thoughtful process. So thank you all very much. And the select board will listen to this and we'll review it. We'll talk about it again next time. We'll probably accept the report, depending on how it works out, okay?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, yeah. All right, Marty, I think that Eric is outside. We'll move ahead now to a discussion about the Algiers Traffic Calming Committee demonstration project.
He's coming.
Okay, that's fine. So, wait, are we expecting to hear from Eric? Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's good.
Okay. Hi, Eric. Hi.
So, are there any handouts or
Would you, I have
visuals
that
here?
for you. Select board has seen those things too.
All right, so I'm Eric Morse on the Algiers Traffic Safety and Traffic Calming Committee. We've been doing some work with Colin Bratton from Windham Regional. He's been giving us advice and guidance for this proposed project. This concerns pedestrian and traffic safety in Algiers near the intersection Guilford Center Road and Route 5, Coolidge Highway. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been compiling information, taking measurements, and the result are these two letters and a proposed map. The demonstration project is one step in a long process in dealing with Agency of Transportation. It's for the benefit of the Agency of Transportation that we're proposing this demonstration project, which will be temporary, to be, hopefully with your support, put up this fall, early fall. Would stay up probably a month to 6 weeks. And at that time, people will see what we're, some possibilities that we're proposing, and we'll be able to get comment from Agency of Transportation, but also people in Guilford once they see it. Let's see, it is pretty well described in the letters. Do you want me to go through the map?
Can
With
you
you?
show the map?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry. I guess we're pursuing about that Microsoft problem. I'm just trying to get back into the No, it's not working. Okay, here we go. Okay, so.
All right, so these are some,
Yeah, last steps. Okay.
okay, so
Absent-mindedly, was getting impatient.
So these are some suggested alterations to the existing conditions in Algiers Village for the purpose of improving accessibility and safety for pedestrians and for cars. So what's existing right now in terms of sidewalks is just a stretch along the south side of Guilford Center Road, across from Doug Richmond's in front of the Tontine building, the yellow apartment house. And then there's a short stretch of sidewalk along the west side of Route 5. So it wraps around the yellow apartment building. And it's not really connected to anything. There is a new section of sidewalk on the new bridge over Broad Brook that's also on the west side of Route 5. So with this project would be temporary sidewalks achieved with using striping, signs, bollards, or hay bales as bollards, to show what it would be like if there were sidewalks, additional sidewalks. So starting on the south end, from the bridge, we would propose connecting the sidewalk on the bridge across Gristmill Road. There would need to be a crosswalk there. And then in front of the first residence to connect to the existing sidewalk. On the west side, on the east side of Route 5, there would be a sidewalk from Bee Barn Road up into the parking lot at the Guilford Country Store. And then also on the west side of Route 5, north of the intersection, there would be a section of sidewalk across from the Guilford Country Store. This shows several proposed crosswalks. On the south, there would be a crosswalk from the sidewalk that would go across to the church property where it's an open lot now where the church used to be located. But a crosswalk there for people to access the church and also to get to that side of the highway to be able to walk up to the Guilford Country Store. At Guilford Center Road, there would be a crosswalk from in front of the yellow apartment building across Guilford Center Road to in front of Doug Richmond's parking area. And then it would continue north to another crosswalk that would then cross over to the Guilford Country Store. The last crosswalk, I might have mentioned, it would be from the bridge across Gristmill Road to connect to the sidewalk on the west side of Route 5. So what we're here for tonight, maybe you've seen the letter, we're asking for support from the select board to continue with this application to Agency of Transportation. We have a budget that's a big range depending on how we deal with it. That would be the responsibility of the town. And this would be to create this demonstration project, like I said, temporary this fall to get us to the next step.
Are there any questions here at the select board? Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, I was just wondering, has anybody ever looked at, from a safety standpoint, the number of incidents or the use of pedestrians trying to cross the street? I don't mind the idea of a temporary, basically like, we're conducting a study. I question whether anything permanent needs to be done, just because to me it's 5 and 10, and crosswalks aren't going to slow people down. It's a blind corner going on Guilford Center, coming down Coolidge Highway. But has anybody ever looked at, to me, the main issue in that area is actually traffic safety for cars leaving the parking lot of the country store. I mean, that's the one thing that kind of stands out in my mind, is when you're pulling out and trying to take a left or a right, it's kind of a roll of the dice the way they come around the corner. But I'm just wondering, in terms of pedestrian use and the number of people crossing and getting to those businesses, which are mostly driven to, if there's any idea of how useful this would be and what kind of use it would get.
Well, the hazard of pulling out of the store parking lot and the short sight distance looking to the south is definitely one of the issues. But a big issue
I don't see a fix for that. Is there or not? Have you looked at that?
I think he's answering.
Oh, he is, okay.
So, but another big part, so that's with vehicle traffic.
Yeah.
There's housing on Guilford Center Road.
Right.
There's, several private residences and 3 apartment buildings. And people, there are a lot of pedestrians now. The one place where the mover, the public transportation comes, is the parking lot of the Guilford store, so people wanting to get public transportation to Brattleboro have to cross that road.
Okay.
People who live in the area, I could speak for myself, I have a business south of the bridge. Sometimes I have my grandkids with me. We want to walk to the store for lunch.
Right. Just
It's pretty hazardous. We cross the bridge and then we have to cross Route 5. But where do we cross? There's no defined area.
Yeah.
And like you said, cars go fast. But part of this project, and I believe it would be a requirement from the state if we were to move forward with this, when there are crosswalks, the speed limit would have to be lowered.
Yeah.
And there's a very...
Flashing lights, perhaps?
Perhaps, someone has suggested that. But there is somewhat of an unclear situation in terms of speed limit. Because as you're coming north and approaching the bridge on Route 5, there's a speed sign. It's not an actual speed limit sign, but it's a recommended sign with a diagram of the bridge that says 25 miles an hour. And then there isn't a 35 mile an hour resumed speed sign until you're north of Partridge Road.
Oh, okay.
Same thing coming south. There's just before the bridge, there's a sign that says 25 miles an hour, but it doesn't resume until after Melody Hill Road.
Yeah.
So one of the goals here is to clarify that to really to clarify it within the context of having crosswalks. So lowering the speed limit would be a requirement to put in crosswalks. I mean, I personally think a three-way stop sign would solve a lot of the problems with crosswalks there, but we have to do this demonstration project to highlight the issues for Agency of Transportation, and then they will get back to us on what their recommendations.
So if it's not sufficient, they would make changes or recommendations?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Have we
and
ever
there
talked
are-
to the residents in those, we're probably out of time, but the residents in that yellow building to see how many people walk across the street or use the movement?
Well, I know that people from Doug Richmond's all day long
Well, yeah, I
walk
do that
across
too,
the
yeah.
street from there, his workers
Right.
and customers, instead of waiting in a small, hot little waiting room. People generally drop their car off to be worked on, walk across the road.
Yeah.
His workers walk across for meals and for snacks all day long. There's definitely a big issue with pedestrian traffic. And there are, a lot of residents now in the village of Algiers. And the Guilford Country Store is the only business and gathering place in the village right now. The church, when they have funerals or church services on Sunday and it overflows their parking lot, which was recently reduced by the creation of the park.
Yeah.
The parking takes place at Christ Church.
Oh, it does, okay.
Which is south of the bridge.
Yeah.
So on Sundays, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic going to the church as well. And now that there's a public park there, I imagine residents from the housing developments and individual residences like to access the store and the church and the park. So I believe there's a significant amount of pedestrian traffic, and there's been an evolution of the flow of traffic in that intersection. Danny could attest to this. But when I first moved here, it was before Doug Richmond's was built.
Yeah.
Traffic coming south from Brattleboro could turn onto Guilford Center Road at 50 miles an hour without hitting their brakes.
Yeah.
There's a telephone pole at that intersection.
Yeah.
The traveled lane was on the north side of that telephone pole. So there's been a significant change in the configuration of that intersection. I'm sure there are other things that would be looked at, flashing lights, possible stop signs, in one direction
But
or
this has to
another.
be this has in your mind as a necessary first step.
Right.
Okay.
It's a demonstration project to show V-Trans what may work and what people will like and how they'll use it, and it's meant
Who
to be
does that
temporary.
study? Who follows up with that?
Well, so if we get, sorry, Colin, after we get permission, if we do to do this, all of the crosswalks and the temporary sidewalks you see there, they're just made with either materials you have on hand or the paint, stuff like that.
But I mean,
Trying to make it make it cheaply and do it temporarily so we can just try it out and see,
So it would be the town's
see what happens.
responsibility to create
Yeah.
this temporary
No, I
demonstration.
get that, I was just wondering from a cumulative standpoint, I mean, obviously, it's kind of a Band-Aid, temporary Band-Aid, and it's a way to
Yes,
start the
that's
process.
It's a way to start the process.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
who's gonna study that?
Well, I would like to
V-Trans.
ask
V-Trans.
Colin for some information here.
Well, yeah, I was, I can give a
Let's,
little.
we're way over
Way
time, so we'll
past.
just go for a minute or two.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you send it to me later and we'll talk about it.
But
If you don't mind.
just, I think some like necessary context is that this is really a response to the fact that the town has been sending letters as far as more to AOT over the years, asking for changes, that those letters have not been responded to. And that there is, V-Trans has processes that they want you to follow to make permanent changes.
I get
So
that.
this, I guess what I would say is I wouldn't be wedded to this particular design, that this is an initial step that you
Yeah.
take, you submit this, the board would, theoretically voice support, submit this to AOT. AOT would then come back to the town and work through a process to get final approval and create a more concrete, cost, implementation plan, how you're gonna study this, how you're gonna decide whether or not it was effective. Like all that will be figured out with AOT. There just needs to be an initial ask to the state to get that process started.
So it's sort of like it's like an opening a conversation.
Right, gotcha.
That will come
We
in.
do have
after.
a-
And just one other thing about, say,
I'm sorry,
opening a
Eric,
conversation.
Eric is speaking. Just-
Sorry,
Okay.
so Colin did some measurements with Eric last week and got some materials estimates. So the low end estimate for this demonstration project is about $750 and the high end is $2,000.
Alright, I saw that.
Yeah, okay, good.
And just one other thing, this isn't a new issue. I've personally been involved in communicating with AOT since 2006,
Right.
when the village of Algiers received its designation as a designated village center, which enabled us to, qualify for grants and these types of projects.
Yeah,
So we've been communicating for many years about this, and this is just part of the process. It's a multi-year process.
alright, thanks.
All right, so I think we'll take it there, leave it there, and we'll discuss it again at the next meeting or a subsequent meeting and make our determination about support or not for that, all right? All right, for the next 3 agenda items, because I've been implicated in various ways by various what do we call it? Questions at state levels and so forth. I'm going to recuse myself for the 3 next parts of the meeting and ask Miranda to chair the 3 next parts, and then I'll come back in at G. So,
Alright, I'll come get you.
all right, thanks.
Brenda, I'd like to make a motion to move E before D, because because D and F, I'm sorry, are intertwined. And E
Okay,
is
let me
separate.
just be clear, okay?
Yeah.
So your motion is to consider E before D?
Correct.
Okay, and so is there, does everybody understand what Erica is asking for?
Tara.
Oh, Tara, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just a little, okay, I know the difference. Okay, so is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of discussing E before D, indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, so Tara, would you like to take the lead on
Yes.
discussing benefits agreement with town clerk update?
Yes. So, I've had a very busy week on the select board, it feels like. And I wanna just premise this with saying that since I've been on the select board, I'm constantly reminded that we are held to the fire regarding rules, regulations, statutes, policies, and I wanna enforce that as best I can. I think that we all do. Recently, on social media, there was a statement made that the select board is withholding the town clerk's benefits. That's not true at all. And so last Wednesday, I wrote Danielle, the town clerk, an email, and I'm gonna read part of it because I want people to understand where I'm coming from in wanting to have an agreement. So It goes, as you know, the select board is encouraged to have procedures and document everything. Coming from a business owner perspective, the most important thing that I can do as a business owner is have a contract in place. I've attached the agreement that was sent to you below. In the past, Penny signed the personnel policy, not a unique agreement between the select board and the town clerk. I cannot reiterate enough that the select board does not want to withhold any benefits to you. We want to pay them. The people of Guilford hold the select board responsible for allocating and delineating where funds go. It is our job to record and document all transactions and exchanges. Your benefits are a transaction and agreement that we must record and document. This protects everybody, and that is the responsible thing to do. The agreement is only to state that yes, we are paying you benefits, and yes, you agree to receive them, and yes, we have recorded this. I did get a response from Danielle today. I sent this on Wednesday. Danielle does not want to sign an agreement, and I want to state that we are well aware that the town elected Danielle, and I'm willing to advise that we forego having Danielle sign the agreement, because if the town's already voted for her benefits to be assigned and she doesn't want to sign an agreement and the town's fine with us not documenting anything, then let's just move on.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for your efforts in just clarifying this situation. I mean, it seems to me just that the town is asking us for clarity, and it seems to me as if you've gone as far as you could go in achieving both clarity and what you might call cordiality. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about this?
I think I want to say one other thing, that I'm pretty sure that under statute, we could demand this, and we could say it's in the name of compliance, but like I said, I'm at this point would just like to forego that and not have Danielle sign anything, and just have it be that.
Okay. Well, I guess then, we tasked you with pursuing this, and you come back to us with your findings. And so how do people feel about moving ahead with leaving this
I
in
would leave
place?
till next week, I say, right? Or because this isn't a single action, is it?
Well, we're not going to, I just am asking for a sense of the select board. We're not taking formal action.
Does anyone else have an opinion?
I'd be in support of what you're recommending.
Okay. And Chip, was there anything more you wanted to say?
No, I agree. I mean, I
Okay.
think Tara's done a nice job and in every aspect of it. So yeah.
Mhm. Okay, and so we'll move on to D, internal office protocols, policy, process, update.
Okay, I'm gonna take this one too.
Can you change the view for,
Oh,
us?
sorry.
Oh, dear.
Right.
Oh dear, I know that map was really exciting, but, okay,
Thank
can
you.
people see once again?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tara, did you want to discuss
Yes,
this?
I think that the internal office protocols policy process update and the election security update are rather intertwined, because some of the issues are the vaults, who has access to the vaults, and I definitely want to make a statement. There was information sent to Mark Poole, who's the election administrator, and that Zon Eastus had access to the vaults. He absolutely does not. Zon is on the ballot, and he has recused himself from being an elected or an election official or having any select board conversations regarding the policy, the vaults. He's no longer speaking to the attorney either. So now I'm speaking to the attorney, and Erica's involved. So we started with this office protocol because there was this whole issue about who has access to the safes. I did reach out to Danielle last Wednesday because Chip and I wanted to meet with Ellie and Danielle because I know that they wanted to have some input. At this point, it's been emails and it's just started. So as far as the internal office protocol policy being in place, we're working on that. We did get cameras. Danielle did get a safe, and the only people that have combinations to the safe are Erica. She has combinations to both safes, and Danielle has combinations to both safes, and Ellie has a combination to her safe. So with the select board has no combinations, as I've
Nor have
stated.
nor have we
No.
requested combinations.
Correct.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. So the election security update is that Danielle now has a safe for all the ballot information. We're gonna be talking about where that's kept, whether it's gonna be moving. There is conversation about having a lockbox. We will have cameras on both vaults. So the election security update is also an ongoing issue that is in the works right now.
Okay.
I will add, although, and Zon is not part of the process, nor is the select board, we have no access to any of it. But if you look at, I talked to state legislatures, and if you look at the membership, there are quite a few legislatures currently serving and former who are on the select board. Or, for example, Kelly Paella is the state rep, and she's actually the town clerk in Londonderry. And then John Gannon in Wilmington was the chair of the select board when he was also part of the state legislature, and then he just decided not to run for a fourth term. So there is plenty of, I don't want to call it evidence, but there's plenty, just for the lack of a better word, plenty of evidence of people who are in pivotal roles, especially Kelly in Londonderry as the town clerk, and she's basically stepped out of it. And I just want to clearly outline, there's a chain of custody in regards to ballots and election security that is the responsibility of the town clerk and is fiduciarily laid out by Vermont Statute 17 V.S.A. under Title 17 of the Vermont state. So there's a firewall in place that is in place to make sure that anyone connected to any election has no access to the ballots. And those two people, both John Gannon and Kelly Paella, are perfect examples of that. So there's literally zippo chance of any kind of election security issues. It's ongoing, we'll finish it off, but I just wanted to add that there are plenty of people who still are currently serving on select boards that are in the state legislature that had to be elected.
Well, in the spirit of public service, it's very interesting that people are trying to keep up those responsibilities and that there's a protocol for doing it clearly and safely. I'm really impressed with your research and also with the outcomes of that research, and I'm sure that going forward it will be useful to us. You know, we have an unfolding situation here. So, okay, well, we have no decisions to make here. All I want to do is commend people for continuing to do this in a cordial and professional way. So, yeah, I think I have chaired enough.
But you did an excellent job.
Can we get some?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so when Zon returns, we'll be moving on to old business G.
H.
Okay.
We did G, didn't we?
No, we did not,
We did not.
but it's just an announcement. Okay, we're on G.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right, thank you all. So letter G on the agenda is just an announcement about the Jason Herron versus Town of Guilford Supreme Court decision. Some of you may have been keeping track of this. The Supreme Court, I guess it was last Wednesday, there was a hearing in front of an abbreviated Supreme Court with Jason Herron. And 2 days later, they rendered their decision. It's available on the Supreme Court site. And the Supreme Court upheld the lower court's decision to dismiss Jason Herron's appeal. So the case is dismissed at this point.
Oh, may I
So-
mention something?
Sure.
Both the decision and the video of the hearing are posted on Discover Guilford if anybody is interested in accessing the original, the primary documents or the discussion.
I want to say
Yes.
something too. So there's actually 2 suits and 1 appeal, right? It wasn't 3 altogether.
This was the second suit that the town has undergone. There was a suit that appeared at the Supreme Court about a year ago that was also dismissed.
So
This
is
is
the
a
second.
different second suit, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't have all the bills in from this.
No, we don't know yet.
But for those other 2 suits, we have, it has cost $46,606.10.
So far.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
when people are, talking about taxes going up and road signs and stuff like that, I think people need to consider what we're also paying out on legal fees.
Yeah, because that could push the total towards 70, correct?
There's an expectation, we don't know yet what the, but if it's like last year, we know that we budgeted $68,000 for legal fees this year, and we may get close to that by the end of the
That's
year.
a tax hit.
Yeah. All right, we'll move ahead to the new business now. We'll ask Ellie to come forward and talk with us about the Algiers Fire District Number 1, the Prudential Committee update. So we all know Prudential Committee, that's not a special name for these folks thought up. A Prudential Committee is a thing. It's a group of people that work in these kind of districts. They're the ones who care for they have oversight over the district in this case.
Do we need to explain just very briefly what the Algiers Fire District is? A few sentences?
Sure.
Because it doesn't have to do with fire.
Yeah, right, exactly. Would you like to
It
explain?
has to do with sewers,
Yes.
right, Ellie? So
Yes.
the Algiers Fire District Number 1 was set up when the small part of Algiers, how many customers? 12, 15?
No, that's the water. There's more like 100.
100 on the sewer.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
So it was created because of the business expansion of Commonwealth and Delta, but also because of the development of the
Exit 1.
Exit 1, well, not
That's
Exit
Welcome
1.
Center.
That one too, the Welcome Center.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Right, and they needed sewer down in the
Yeah.
Welcome Center.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm here tonight to talk about the Prudential Committee. Over the past 4 months, I have had difficulty communicating with the Prudential Committee for Algiers Fire District Number 1. The town provides the financial services for AFD, but has no power to make decisions nor to sign checks for them. There are currently two Prudential Committee members left. Since March, I've tried to set up multiple meetings, multiple times, to convey information regarding a possible contract with Commonwealth Dairy. They have a contract, but they've been trying to revise it for several years. Also, for them to approve invoices, warrants, sign checks, and report to them on budget status, balances on accounts, and account reconciliations. I've tried calling, emails, and one member regularly responded, but not the other. After putting a note in with a quarterly sewer bill, I finally got a response from the second. And it turns out that person has been working out of state since April, but gave me no communication about that. And that person happens to be a signer on the bank account. And I have asked for contact information and a time to speak to this person, no matter what time it is, so that we can have a conversation. I'm coming to the select board to ask for help with this issue. The town has a contract with the Algiers Fire District and the Prudential Committee for financial services, and it states the town's responsibility, but doesn't really state the Prudential Committee responsibilities. I'm concerned about the contract with Commonwealth Dairy. They've been trying to communicate with the Prudential Committee since about 2020. That's when I was previously here and working as assistant treasurer and assistant town clerk. And they've been trying to work out an update to their contract because they are expanding. There was some progress with this in January of 24. Lawyers were involved in talking to each other, but that halted in February and March with no response from the committee. Commonwealth has been holding back payment to the Algiers Fire District now, and they have a large outstanding balance. I'm wondering if the select board might create a task force, I know you've got a lot of task force going on, to help me determine the next steps. That could be with me, the existing Prudential Committee, to figure out what we can do next. So, has the Prudential Committee exhausted all their efforts to find new members? They have bylaws in place. They should have 5 people on their board. They currently have 2. What have they tried? What could be tried? By state statute, the select board can legally appoint 3 new Prudential Committee members to work with the existing members to try to move things forward and get work done. So I'd really like help to figure out, what's the current issues keeping from this Prudential Committee to work as a group, what's keeping them from moving forward, identify the goals that we need to resolve, and then work on them and, create a timeline for us to get things together here. Because this is a business. Yeah. And we are supposed to be providing financial services, but if I don't have a committee that provides me with the ability to sign checks, I don't want the ability to sign checks, but somebody's got to sign the checks to pay the bills. And if the current committee can't do that, then we need to figure out a way how these bills can get paid. Yeah. If we need to, we need to get more people in there, or we need to, what do we need to do? Yeah. So I'm asking for help.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so I understand that you're asking for a task force to be, for us to form a task force to support you, work with you to see if we can find a better solution. It's also good to know that statute allows this to happen, that the select board can step in and sort of facilitate this process going forward, so, great. So,
and the question needs to be figured out whether, we need to go and find.
Excuse us.
Yeah. Folks who, I think their bylaws say that the folks on the committee need to be folks who are part of the Algiers Fire District, or can we, as an interim thing, appoint somebody who's not in the fire district so that we can get more people from the fire district in, or whatever it is. Figure out the legality of whatever steps need to be taken and move forward.
Okay.
Because we need this to be working.
Yeah.
It needs to be a functioning business.
Financial concerns. All right, so what the process will be that if there may be questions here we can ask you right now, but we'll wait till we have time for public comment, usually this evening and at the front of the next meeting, and then we'll take it up as far as appointing a subcommittee or a task force at the next meeting. Okay. All right? So are there any questions for Ellie before she steps away?
Just
everyone
a
understand what we're doing?
comment that I attended some meetings of the Algiers Fire District in, I think, 2017, and they were having a great struggle to find and retain members even back then. So you know, there'll be questions of, you know, how we can support them and how far we can go to bring people into the process.
Yeah. See? Sorry. And we'll have to wait till public comment. Thank you for your willingness, but we'll wait. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move ahead then at this point. Thank you, Ellie, for all that.
Thank you, Ellie.
Yeah, that issue has been around for a long time. This is not the beginning of this. Ellie's just very capably bringing it to a reasonable head here that we can get some work done ahead. All right, folks, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is C, under Roman numeral 9. This is a single meeting decision. We'll be just making a decision this evening without public comment, because this is just the town foreman, Danny, is recommending that we hear the stage road ditching bids, which have happened this evening. So Dan.
We didn't do it.
It's
We just did, we did B
Oh,
earlier.
Oh, we did, okay.
Yeah, this stone line ditching here is a new segment we're doing. It's
Okay.
backside of Green River Hill. It's gonna be from the power line down to the boathouse before you get to the bottom of the hill.
Okay.
It's gonna be, what it's involved is gonna be 4 18-inch culverts and 4 2-foot culverts. It's a section we lost last winter in the heavy rains. This particular, it's part of the State Clean Water Act, so we get a grant, so we get a $31,000 grant. We advertised it, it went out, we only had one bidder, and that would be MT3, and I'd like to ask the approval of the board to approve that this job has to be done by September 30th of this year. So, and we do get reimbursed on it. Erica's got the breakdown of the job that they just did, that we paid for tonight. What we did set up years ago, in the clean waters, this was when Dickie and Gordon was on the board, we set up an account, especially for this. We put in a bunch of money for it, and we pull that money out of there, and then when we get reimbursement, it goes back in that account. And actually, that account has been growing a little bit over the years, so I mean, there's money in it, but we do have the breakdown of that account. And this is something that the state mandates every year, and if we don't do it, we could lose our state aid.
Yeah, I make a motion to accept that recommendation.
Okay. Can we hear what the dollar amount is?
Erica has it.
Well, so the bid, MT3's bid for this job is $59,325. There's also, we get a lot of help from Windham Regional for mapping this out. They come and take pictures, they recommend the work that needs to be done, and they catalog all the culverts, so that becomes part of the reimbursable expense too, and they can't charge more than $1,500. So we don't know, we don't have that invoice yet, but that's the maximum, so I just plugged it in there. The grant is for $31,000. So that sounds like the cost over that to the town would be $20,575. And again, Danny's saying that it comes from the Act 64 fund that was set up years ago, and I believe there's just a little over $100,000 in that fund currently.
I think it was like 130 or something.
130.
Yeah, somewhere in that.
Yeah, and so I think we just paid for the last ditching that just got invoiced to us, and that'll be reimbursed.
Yeah. And
so there's $45,000 went back in for that work.
The ditching that we just did was last year when the floods come in July, they extended it. So that was why it was so late getting done, because they extended everything. We did Bukowski Road, Campbell Road, Cemetery Hill, and some segments on Sweets Pond Road.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. So let's have this motion.
Yeah, I will make a motion to accept that recommendation.
A second?
All
right.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Here's the board.
No, but I'd say it was a nice move by Dick and Danny years ago to start that process.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good plan. All right. So all those in favor of approving this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, thank you, we'll go ahead then. Then we'll move ahead to D, another single meeting decision. This is a pro forma decision that we can make. The board makes annually with a number of contracts that we have for various services that are provided, like mowing and cleaning services here in the building and things like that. So these are services that have been ongoing for years, and we will, the select board just needs to approve these four services. Yeah, they're non-employment contracts.
Yep, so that's, so our insurance company knows that we aren't covering them, and like our workers' comp doesn't cover them, they have their own situation.
Okay. Do you want to name the four of them?
Yeah, sure. So we have Anson Baldwin Tree Care, which has been working with Danny for years and doing a great job with all the trees that need to get taken down in town. And another one that Danny uses, DJ's Truck and Repair. And these are, the way this is set up is that they're annual contracts, so we have to do this every year. Another one is for town office and library cleaning, is Mastaler Cleaning, and I just want to thank them extra right now because Ellie and I have been working on ways to save money, because this kind of stuff, the mowing especially, is getting really expensive. And so we asked a couple of our contractors if they would consider coming less to do these services, like instead of twice a month, maybe once every 3 weeks or something like that. And Mastaler responded and they said, no, that's not convenient for us to do, but we will lower the price to by $100 a month. So
that's nice.
that was really nice, and thank
That's
you.
cool.
That's really great community spirit on their part. And lastly is MaryJo Gaines, who does the mowing in the
Maplehurst.
Yeah, and that's the four we have.
Right across the street from her house.
That's great. So is there a motion to approve all four of these?
I was so
Thanks, Brenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Any further discussion?
we're lucky to have these reliable people and making sacrifices for us too. That's really something that we need to know.
And I'll just note that I read through our procurement policy, and this is in keeping with our procurement policy. We don't need to rebid or put these out to bid each time at these particular kinds of services. So this is all within fine. All right, so any further discussion? All right, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, thank you. So is there any other business? I don't think there's any other business this evening. Is there any correspondence? I don't think there's any correspondence.
Actually, I have some correspondence.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I have some correspondence from Hannah Tustin. We had a phone call and she would like us to consider having a Facebook page. I know that we put information out there, but she feels that it's still something that people could look at, even if we only updated it like weekly, once a week, just saying what we're doing, what's going on in town, what's coming up, what committees are meeting. So that was a request from Hannah.
Okay, thank you. We'll take it under advisement and look at the possibility. We do, just to say it, on our webpage, on our website, all that kind of information is available on a calendar right on the very front page of the website. It doesn't mean that may not reach certain people. A
Right.
Facebook page would reach people.
And a
that they
Facebook
understand.
page would also have interaction.
Yeah, something for us to consider. All right. Okay, folks, at this moment, we'll open it up to public comment. All right, yes.
Gordon, your sheriff committee, did I miss it on your report that traffic control is not a high priority?
Traffic control meaning?
Speeders?
No, it was a very low priority.
Huh.
It was
39?
39.8% with 39 people responding at the lowest number. And at the high end, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there wasn't a significant.
I think it's a problem that should be addressed.
I think, not to say we're fixing it at all, but we do know from data that these radar signs that we have around town are making a difference. We can read the data and we know that it's not solving the problem entirely, and there might well be moments for stopping traffic or whatever, but it is reducing speeds, we do know that.
But you can hear them go by from your house.
But Sheriff Anderson also stated that the large carts, I don't know what Danny calls them, but the big ones, not the little thing that's sitting there that goes off, but the big ones do make a big difference, Mark said. And if we did have a contract with the Windham County Sheriff's Department, they do have big ones on loan as part of a contract.
I see, okay, all right.
So Dick,
Thank you.
I want to ask Dick
Okay.
Clark. Dick, you would be for having a sheriff moderate speed and pull people over?
I talked to other sheriffs, and there's some towns that say, no slapping on the hand, say don't do it again, give them a ticket. That's the only way you're gonna slow them down. That's why I brought it up, yeah, I mean, there's a couple sheriffs I've talked to, and some of the towns they work, that's their attitude. Speed control and give them a ticket.
All right.
And the tickets will pay for their time also.
Call on Ann Ryder. Ann, are you there? Maybe not.
Okay, I'm unmuted, but I can't seem to get my video working, so it's all right. I will just say that I think that the select board should look into the possibility of having the Algiers Fire District dissolved. And so that poor Prudential committee, who has such a hard time getting members to serve, can cease to exist. I know that this would require a charter change. We've talked about this for years and years. This is a group of people who are tired and feel like they, you're seeing, Ellie, sadly, the results of years of them feeling like, can we just not have to do this process? I know I spoke a couple years ago with Mike Becker about this. I think somebody could research the way you could dissolve this committee and have that in the work and the benefits rolled into the town's work. So just to consider.
Yeah, we looked into that a little bit, yeah. Anna Klein.
All right, this is possibly going to be seen as ridiculous by people, but I just keep thinking it every time some of these things come up, and the speeding and the paving costs and so on. I'm kind of like, could we just go back to gravel roads everywhere? Just saying it. And I guess, maybe we're not going to depave Weatherhead Hollow and Guilford Center Road and so on, but I guess just having an awareness of the impact that paving a road has on speed. You can still go really too fast on a gravel road, but some of these issues we're seeing, gosh, and it costs a lot of money to pave a road. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, gotta say something.
Tammy?
Yeah, Tammy Sargent from Road. I would like to ask the select board to really pay close attention when you go down Guilford Center Road to that intersection of Route 5. It is amazing to me how far up the road and down the road you can see. It is not dangerous for pedestrians. You would be hard pressed to find a pedestrian. But for the investment, even just the demonstration project, even if that did cost us $2,000, it's not something, I think it should be something we ask the townspeople. If they've been working on this for years, saying, hey, we've been trying to figure out how to get traffic changed or done differently for years, then why do we have to be in such a hurry? Why don't we ask the townspeople, do a vote like they did for the sheriffs? What do you guys think? Do you think this is a dangerous intersection? Do you think, because it's a busy intersection, I grant you, I go through that intersection numerous times a day. never ever see a pedestrian. And if you had a crosswalk, if you spent the money to paint a crosswalk across the road, if you ever saw a pedestrian, I bet they won't be where it's painted. They'll be where they are, and that's where they're going. It's just an absolute waste of money for something that I think the majority of the townspeople would recognize it's not necessary. The other thing, I already pointed out, there were no agendas posted for their meetings, which I really do have a problem with it. That's not right. But at one of the meetings, there was actually a video that I was able to get from Erica that I watched. And it sounded to me like this group is made up of the Friends of Algiers people that, I don't even know who's on the Friends of Algiers, but that would be a really neat thing to know. Who are all these people in this Friends of Algiers we keep hearing about? But they've had a discussion, just real quick about, they've already had a discussion about moving their parking lot at the store, expanding the parking lot, enlarging it, and possibly doing the entrance and exit in a different fashion. I'm just saying, these are all things that should be looked at before we jump right into a last minute stamp of approval to spend money on it.
So I want to just say, Tammy, that I hear you and we hear you. If you want to know who's on the Friends of Algiers, that's not something that the select board knows or keeps track of and needs to report to you. You go find that out yourself. So just figure it out and maybe you can talk with them.
Those are the people that are asking you to give the stamp of approval.
It's a different group of, as I understand, it's a different group of people. So you can figure that out.
I don't know how you would know that.
Well, I've looked, I've done the research, I know who the people are.
Well, then it would be an easy thing to let me know.
And not as a select board member, it would not. You could talk to me anytime, which we encourage you to do very friendlily, like, rather than to bring it up at meetings like this and take up our time about issues that don't relate to the select board. Excuse me, Ellie.
As a person who's almost been hit twice in front of the Guilford store, one time I was trying to help direct traffic because a car was stopped and the engine was dead. And another time I was just trying to cross the road to get to Guilford store. I think there's an issue. I also, several years ago, when I worked at Guilford Church, would deliver groceries to people in the housing project across from the fire department. Many of those people do not have vehicles and do not drive to the store. They walk, and it's the only store that they can get to. At least it was then. There's plenty of, I think, as Eric pointed out, times when there are events at Guilford Church where there's not enough parking. They park at Christ Church, sometimes they park at Doug Richmond's with permission or elsewhere, and people need to get across the road to either from Christ Church and come up and go into the church area, or from the housing or Richmond's and get to the church. There's plenty of pedestrians there. And I would encourage Tammy or anyone else who has been shaking their head saying there's no pedestrians there to take a day, pick 2 days out of a month and go sit there for the day and watch and see how many pedestrians are there, see how fast the traffic is going, because they do not slow down. And, you know, I would hate to see someone get killed there before we do, I'm sorry, but I would hate to see someone get killed there at that intersection before we pay attention.
Thank you.
I would take a day to click.
I'm sorry.
Oh, can I do that?
Yeah, well, I didn't see you, I'm sorry. I was turned to Barry.
Sorry.
Go right ahead, please.
My father did that.
What's your name, please, sir?
Debbie McNeil, Sweet Pond Road. That's something that's been done, not having to spend any money. I would volunteer a few hours on a Monday or a Thursday, like days that counts for me. And do like a clicker thing, do it a couple of hours in the morning, maybe a couple hours in the afternoon, a couple hours in the evening. I would volunteer my time to do that and click and see how many, especially like lunchtime, perhaps, and just do a clicker, you know, they make those things still, I think. that they can count and log that in. If I would do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
We'll make note, thanks. Barry Aleshnik. Can't hear you.
All right, there I am. I have two things. I wanted to say something else, but first I'll enter into this conversation. I live on Melody Hill Road, and I can attest to the fact that there is a lot of pedestrian traffic. There's a bank of mailboxes down there that serves both sides of Route 5, and people walk sometimes to get their mail. There are families who live near Route 5 who like to walk to the country store, but they are terrified of doing it because of the traffic. I could also say that as Eric said, we've been trying for 2 decades to get some traffic calming measures there, and that was before Algiers turned even more busy with a rejuvenated country store, which is a gem of our town, and several more apartments house providing needed housing, and the renovated and the new Guilford Church Park. That all calls for a lot of traffic, pedestrian traffic, which does exist there. And I agree with Ellie, and we should not be waiting for an accident to happen. And there have been many near misses. Doug Richmond could attest to the fact there have been many near misses there. So I applaud this group that has, with full disclosure, I'm a part of the group. I applaud the group that's finally taking a first step for traffic calming on Route 5. It's been a problem only because it's state-owned and we have to go through hoops. Now, if you give me another moment, I want to address something else which is a lot less controversial, I hope. And several months ago, I brought it up to the select board with a prepared statement, and it's very fitting to now. It's fitting to Anna's comments and a few others. The select board brought up that some towns have reduced their town-wide speed limit, including Brattleboro, to I believe 35 miles per hour. Zahn, you mentioned if the posted speed limit is 25 miles an hour, people will go 35. If the posted speed limit is 35 miles an hour, people go 45. We all know that. We have the option of reducing our town-wide speed limit to a lower limit than what it is now, either 35 or 25. There's a number of reasons why this would be beneficial. In my view, one of the big reasons is that all of our boards and commissions are focused on climate change and what we could do to reduce our emissions. If all of our speed limits are lowered, then our emission would be commensurately lower, and that's to everybody's benefit. A lower speed limit throughout the entire town would make our streets safer, every place. Guilford Center Road, Route 5 we don't have power for. Weathered Hollow Road, there have been a lot of buzz recently about all the speeders on Guilford Center Road and Weathered Hollow Road. If we had the power to reduce the speed limits there, it would make our streets safer, our neighborhoods more quiet, and our air quality better. So now for the second time, I recognize I didn't push it the first time, it was just a comment, but I urge the select board to consider taking this up, and I would be glad to be part of any effort, a study effort or a commission, whatever needs to be done. I would be glad to be part of that effort to possibly reduce our speed limits on all of our town roads for all of those benefits.
Thank you, Barry. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Quick question. Did you do that when you were on the select board, lower speed limits or not?
We changed, when I was on the select board, every speed limit was 50 miles an hour, dirt roads, hard top and everything. We changed the dirt roads to 35 and lowered the hard stop to 50, from 50 to 45, so we would get the money from the tickets And this goes back to enforce the speed limits we have rather than all the speed limits. Because we go to law and don't enforce it, what good does it do?
We have spent 15 minutes on
All right,
that.
good, folks. Thank you. I think we'll stop there. All right.
I
Yes.
just wanted to ask a question. What is the official name of this grant or this study on the traffic in Algiers? Is there a name for it? It's a grant?
This is a request to do a demonstration project.
Yeah.
Something that it's a.
Right, but the original project, I mean, not the demonstration. I mean, what is the original project that brought about the demonstration?
No, this is are you talking about the traffic calming?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what's the official name of that?
Traffic Calming and Safety Committee. Algiers Traffic Calming and Safety Committee.
It's an outgrowth of work that's been going on for years and years, so I think, okay. So, folks, thanks very much for those comments. We'll move ahead now to,
Thank you.
we'll go into, the select board's gonna go into an executive session at this point, to discuss labor relations agreements with employees. V.S.A. Section 3. Can I ask for quiet, please?
We're still recording. My parents live in Melbourne, we get all go through all the time. Outside the mailbox.
Sit there and drink a Diet Coke and.
Diet Coke.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Well, yeah. The clicker might be a little whoa.
Slow your count down.
Yeah, you know? My father did that for a job when he was 14 or 12 or something like that.
You move on, sweet.
So, I'll
I do.
move that the,
I got,
They're going into executive session.
can I ask you to step out, please? Thanks.
Oh, that's right there.
I'm sorry. I move that we move into executive session to discuss labor relations agreements with employees per 1 V.S.A. Section 313A, 1B. And I move that we do so because premature knowledge of discussions could potentially put the town or a person involved at significant disadvantage. So is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Chip, all right. Let's just move right through. Is it all in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Do you have to say that you're inviting Erica to?
No, I'll go with the next one.
Sorry.
That's all right. And are there any no's? Or any of the, I guess.
Tara's in the room.
She's not in the room, so she wouldn't even count as an abstention at this
Okay.
point, I guess, yeah. All right, then, I will further move that we move into executive session to discuss labor relations agreements with employees per 1 V.S.A. Section 313A, 1B, and that we move into, at 8:32, and that we invite Erica Elder to participate in the meeting. May
I will second that.
Thanks, Brenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Okay.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Put everyone in the waiting room.
Okay, so here it is now, 11 minutes after 9, and I move that we come out of executive session and that the board will take no action. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thanks, Chip. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, folks, now we'll move on. Folks, we've invited folks back into the meeting here, and I will read the actions from the previous meeting. We approved the minutes of June 24th. We approved the warrants. We approved reserve fund policy update. We approved a paving bid from all states for use of highway reserve fund. There we go, about the reserve. We have approved creation of a new account for the conservation fund. We approved a task force for the remaining ARPA funds. We approved the 2025, isn't it? There's a 2024 tax rate.
Yes, 24 this year.
24 tax rate, okay. We appointed a task force for the town office internal policy. We appointed a conservation commissioner. We accepted Sheila Morse's resignation as assistant town administrator. We accepted the resignation of Dan Stoughton as the fire warden. And we appointed Mike Kachuk as the new fire warden. And we approved an internal financial checklist. Those are the actions taken at the July 8th meeting. All right, the actions that we took this evening were we approved 2 sets of minutes, one for July 3rd, a special meeting, and one for July 8th, a regular meeting. We approved the warrants, and then we approved we accepted the motion or the recommendation of Dan for ditching roads, ditching bids on Stage Road. And then we also authorized 4 non-employee agreements with contractors in a single motion. And now we can have a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tara. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, thank you all very much. We'll see you then in 2 weeks.
Good night.